Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to break down a pretty unexpected strategy, how to defend yourself in a debt collection lawsuit by turning the other side's own paperwork, or more often, their lack of paperwork, into your biggest weapon.
It might sound crazy, but a lot of these collection lawsuits are surprisingly thin on actual hard evidence. Their whole strategy often just relies on intimidation, hoping you'll get scared and pay up without a fight. See, for them, it's a numbers game. They are banking on most people not challenging the suit at all. We're going to show you exactly how to call their bluff and turn that lack of proof into your best defense.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with what we're calling the thin lawsuit problem. Then we'll learn how to spot the key defects, how to build your counter argument, and we'll even uncover why these weaknesses exist in the first place. And finally, we'll package it all up into a rock-solid defense. Let's dive in. So first up, let's get a handle on the core issue here. You get this lawsuit in the mail, it looks super official, it's stamped by the court, but when you actually look closely, it's often just a bunch of claims on paper with nothing to back them up. And this isn't always some accident. It's practically a feature of their high-volume business model, which is designed for quick wins against people who don't fight back. And here's the crucial point. Even huge, major creditors can file these surprisingly sparse complaints. They might mention some terms and conditions that you supposedly broke, but they very often leave out the single most important piece of evidence, the actual contract you supposedly agreed to. Now, knowing a lawsuit might be weak is one thing, but proving it, that's another. So now it's time to put on our detective hats and really scrutinize that complaint for specific, critical flaws. And it turns out there are 5 really common, really critical defects you should be looking for. And we're not talking about minor typos here. These are fundamental flaws that can become the entire basis for your defense. And this isn't some abstract legal theory, okay? This is a super practical checklist. The 5 key defects are basically simple yes or no questions. First, is the contract even attached? Second, are you actually named in the body of the complaint, where it really matters? Third, do they give you any proof that they even own the debt? They might also use deliberately vague language or totally fail to connect the dots between you and them. Every single no is another missing brick in their case. All right, so you've spotted the defects. What's next? Well, you don't just think about them, you document them. It's time to go on the offensive by creating the foundational document for your entire defense, your own paper shield. And that brings us to the counter affidavit. Now, I know it sounds really complex and formal, but it's not. Just think of it as your official, formal prove-it letter to the court. It's simply your sworn statement that points out everything the plaintiff conveniently forgot to provide. You're using their own omissions against them, and you're doing it on the record. This structure here is absolutely key. You're not just vaguely saying, I don't know this. Nope. You are systematically stating things like, I deny this specific amount because you provided zero counting. And I challenge your right to even sue me because you haven't shown any proof of ownership. Every single one of their missing pieces becomes a clear, direct point in your favor. Now let's dig into a deeper and frankly pretty fascinating reason why a creditor's case might be so incredibly weak to begin with. And it's a concept that's totally central to modern finance. Securitization. This question right here gets to the absolute heart of the matter. A lot of the time, the reason for all this missing paperwork isn't just that they're sloppy. It's because the company that's suing you might not actually be the legal owner of the debt anymore. Okay, so in simple terms, your original credit card account may have been bundled up with thousands of others, all mixed together into a big financial pool, and then pieces of that pool were sold off to investors. And what that means is the legal ownership of your specific debt was probably transferred away from the original bank a long, long time ago. This creates a really crucial distinction. The company sending you statements might just be the servicer, not the owner. Servicing an account is just a contractual job, but owning the account is what gives a company the legal right, what lawyers call standing, to sue you. Standing is basically just legal speak for having the right ticket to get into the courtroom game. If they don't own the debt, they don't have a ticket. Simple as that. And this timeline here shows exactly how it happens. Ownership gets transferred, and that creates a gap. Now, if the original creditor wants to sue you, they have to prove they bridged that gap, that the ownership was legally transferred back to them through a document called an assignment back. And guess what? That's a document they almost never produce. Okay, let's assemble all these pieces now. We've identified the defects, we've created our counter affidavit, and we understand the tricky questions around ownership. Now it's time to put it all together into a complete and really powerful strategy. So this brings us to a powerful three-step flow. First, you spot a defect. Second, you document it in your sworn affidavit. And third, you use the legal process of discovery to formally demand that they produce the very thing they failed to give you in the first place. Discovery is basically the part of the legal process where you get to officially say, okay, show me your card.
When you put it all together, you have a real strategic toolkit. You're not just defending anymore, you're actively challenging. You're applying consistent pressure, and you're forcing the plaintiff to do something they very well may not be able to do, prove the absolute basics of their own case. By forcing them to prove their case from the very beginning, you completely reframe the entire situation. You challenge their right to be there, you demand proof, and you use their own thin paperwork against them. And so the question becomes, is their lawsuit really a demand for payment, or is it actually an unintentional confession that they simply don't have the evidence to back it up?